There are many unique things about the Cedarburg Bog. One of its most unique features is the String Bog at the center of this wetland complex. Jim Reinhardt guides us over the center of the bog into Long Lake in the final segment of our drone flight. Enjoy.
Okay, here we go. Here we go for our flight over the islands and out to the edge of the String Bog. See the spires of the tamarack trees on the south side of the island when you get into the wetland. The tamarack trees, as we take these flights, they're more spired and conical shape and sort of a light blue-green color, whereas the other conifer in the wetland, the white cedar or arborvitae, is a much darker green color. You can always tell them apart from the air. So over this rounder western island, again you can see the crescent-shaped eastern island on the boardwalk, or that the boardwalk trail goes over, and there's Long Lake on the east side of the bog up to the left, and we're looking across at the Bell Farm on the east side of the bog. There's really our first view. We'll get more of it later, of the String Bog area, and we're swinging around and looking a little more down at Long Lake, or I'm sorry, Mud Lake in the south end of the bog. It's one big wetland, one big, diverse, interesting wetland. We'll start to get one of our first views here of what's called the String Bog, which is a patterned fen. Fen meaning that there's groundwater input to the Cedarburg Bog, which, incidentally, the Cedarburg Bog is not a bog. It is not a bog based on its vegetation, and it's certainly not a bog based on the fact that it has calcareous groundwater coming into it, so it keeps a neutral pH, and because of that groundwater inflow, technically it would be called a fen, kind of a mineral-rich fen, as a matter of fact, a minerotrophic fen. And this, what we're looking at, do you see the pattern to the vegetation? The lines, the strings that have established in the vegetation? That is String Bog. You see the glistening water down below. Water levels are very high this year in 2017 in the bog. And there's our boardwalk. There's the loop at the end of the boardwalk, which just makes it into the very west central part of the String Bog, which occupies a really big part of the bog. It stretches for about a mile north to south and half a mile across. So it's a big area. You can see the little bit of a raised portion on the boardwalk where you can get up and look over the String Bog a little bit. And when you get a chance to go out the boardwalk and you're up on that raised part, look off to the northeast, and on the very far horizon to the northeast, you'll see a line of tall tamarack trees. There's Mud Lake. And that line of tall tamarack trees is actually on the shore of Long Lake. So at that point, you're looking across a big expanse of this String Bog, and it would be that pattern fen vegetation all the way from that raised portion of the bridge to Long Lake. There's been the die-off of the ash trees, and we'll talk a little bit more about the number of dead tamaracks you see in the bog and where that came from. There's some right in front of us there, and that's from a die-off that occurred in 2004. In the spring of 2004, those tamarack trees leafed out just as beautifully green as they normally do, and then right as they were fully leafed out, they all turned brown. And I'll take the chance later to explain what caused that. I think on our next flight. We're headed back for a landing now. Ooh, watch out for the trees. Now we're going to fly up toward Long Lake over some of this string bog or pattern fen. I said I'd explain a little bit more about the pattern fen. This is the southernmost string bog in the world. They are way more typical of big, expansive peatlands or muskegs in central to northern Canada. And they always occur on peatlands that have a slope and one prominent direction of water flow. And the strings always occur at right angles to that direction of water flow. The north end of the bog is about 8 or 9 feet higher than the south end of the bog, and the only surface water outflow that there is from the wetland is off the southwest corner of Mud Lake. So the water's always flowing through there, and no one really knows exactly how they're formed, but something about that consistent directional flow of water creates this pattern of strings and teardrop shaped islands. But when I use the word island here, it's not a gravel island like something that's stuck up out of the old post-glacial lake. It's just a firmer part of peat floating on the other peat. We're coming into Long Lake and sort of a bay of cattails and rushes that extends off the southwest corner of this boot-shaped lake. And you can see the taller tamarack trees that are right on the margin of the lake, and then off to the west is a big, expansive, kind of open string bog area with some of our really rare species of orchids that grow in the bog. Beautiful cedar tree development and tamaracks below us. And they, all the way around Long Lake, they are taller right at the margin and have a better growth form right at the margin than deeper into the wetland. Probably because of the accumulation of sort of more organic matter over a long, long period right at the margins of the lake. Long Lake, like Donut Lake and Mud Lake, is a very shallow muck bottom lake. Even right now with high water levels in Long Lake, I don't think you could find a place that was even 3 feet down to the muck in Long Lake. And Mud Lake and Donut Lake are also very shallow lakes. We're looking off to the southeast and some of the pattern vegetation around the lake. And there's Mud Lake. We're looking all the way from Long Lake to Mud Lake right on the horizon there. And in between there is the island that the boardwalk goes over. Because Long Lake and Mud Lake are so shallow, floating-leaved aquatic plants, water shield and yellow water lily and white water lily grow over large portions of the lake. And in low water years, they can almost cover the lake. I don't really know just what the fish population of Long Lake is like. Mud Lake has a connection to Cedar Creek, and so we have several species of little darters and shiners and minnows and all kinds of little fish that grow in that shallow muck bottom lakes, but really no sport fish. There's an island in Long Lake that again is an island of just firmer floating, or at least floating on peat, that grows taller trees. The tamarack die-off that occurred in 2004 was because the 2003 was a dry fall, so the bog froze up with low water levels, and then January was cold and we did not have a flake of snow all winter long, 2003, 2004, and you can see those dead spires of the tamaracks here. And tamaracks are very shallow rooted. They have to have their roots up in the part of the soil of the peat that has oxygen in it. And it had never been reported before, but apparently tamarack roots cannot stand freeze drying, and we had a deeper frost penetration that year than had ever been recorded before in this area. And in 2004, in the spring, the tamaracks apparently had had their roots killed over the winter, and we had this huge die-off of tamaracks.
We hope you've enjoyed this bird's eye view of the Cedarburg Bog and encourage you to get outside to enjoy the natural world, whether that's at the Cedarburg Bog or a natural area near you. Thank you for watching, and stay up to date with the happenings of the bog on Facebook, Instagram, and our YouTube channel.